this might be my last TikTok, so I'm going to tell you about how you should think about the Depp v. Heard case, because no one can do what I do, and you're going to look at this case totally different, especially if you read my Substack. What a lot of people get wrong about that network is it wasn't just sex trafficking. It was a cultivation program. They recruit people that are very young. They can build their backstories. They go to the right schools. They develop the right talents. They might be a child prodigy in music or a talented singer or really good at science. And they get recruited from a very young age. And then they're sent down a pipeline. So they go to the right boarding school, they go to the right college, they get the right talent agent, they get the right roles in Hollywood, they get the right internship, and they might not even know who they're really working for. And everybody does this, and that's why you can't really think about political parties at all. When we think about why no one on that list has been prosecuted, it's because a lot of the people that were patrons of the people they were cultivating, like that whole process, are very successful people today. You can't strictly look at it as a grooming network, but a cultivation network, whereby romantic relationships or intimate interactions aren't the end goal for either party. Now, we have Amber recruited at a very young age. He says he discovered her the year she turned 18, coincidentally. Why would the guy who recruited her be based out of Florida, Palm Beach, where Epstein had a huge hub, and be connected to two lawyers connected to the Epstein victims and Ghislaine Maxwell? So the guy who discovered Amber was also connected to founding arts-based charter schools in South Florida. You know, secondary schools are really good for recruiting young people for whatever purposes you may have. Now, his attorney, when some financial shenanigans went down, was the same guy who had represented Epstein victims back in 2009. And just because lawyers are seemingly on the opposite sides of a case does not mean they are not working together. Epstein himself went to a school for promising young minors in 1967, and he may have attended with Bill Barr. Now, we know Epstein came from a more humble background, and everyone's like, how did he ascend so high? Part of it is that he was identified and cultivated as a young person to enter into this world because he was seen to have exceptional gifts, which he clearly did because he ascended so high. Interestingly enough, Bill Barr perhaps attended the same school with him. Now, Bill Barr's father was in the OSS, which was the precursor to the CIA. Bill Barr was head of the DOJ when Epstein was M-worded in federal custody. We can't just say the buck stops here, because at some point these guys work together, and at another point they split apart, and I have a whole theory about that. So if we take Hollywood for an example, they love working with child stars and ascending them into being adult icons and nepo babies. And why is that? It's because control. These people really are just figureheads, and they are all part of some network or another. And if you can indoctrinate them from a very young age, that breeds loyalty. All you have to do is watch Scorsese's The Departed and think of it on a bigger scale than the mafia versus the police. So even if we go back to Depp v. Heard, right? Amber's cultivated from a very young age to ascend into Hollywood. She snags a very prominent, beloved icon as her husband. They have interpersonal violence, abuse, etc. That is not the topic of this video. And I think we've talked enough about that and not about interrupting the transmission of violence from generation to generation. And it's been more about perpetuating toxic culture. And why would such a prominent case on domestic violence actually be so bad for the public discourse? And you might wonder, is that to drive up engagement rates on social media? Or is it a malignant bot campaign on social media. So even when this whole story broke, Depp was like, it's not just Amber. She's just being weaponized against me because I discovered like all this money was missing from me. $750 million that like were just gone. He had no liquid cash anymore. And yes, despite him having like 20 houses or whatever, celebrities often lose so much money and then it's like, oh, they come from a humble background, they can't manage money. But it's like, who are they buying the houses from? Are they buying them at an inflated price? Are they compromised by drugs and alcohol? Because people that have addiction issues are easier to control. I'm not about finding guilt of who abused who more or less, right? It's that Depp and Heard became a proxy war for a much bigger geopolitical war than people currently understand. My second article on Substack is all about Elon Musk's role in the Depp v. Heard case and how it coincides with Twitter going private, okay? So they were no longer a publicly traded company. He didn't even want to buy them, but it was during the case that he acquiesced to buying them, and then he did not have to testify in the case. Now, you have to assume that Warner Brothers and Disney were very invested in clearing Johnny's name, right? He has lots of movies made under them, and those kind of movies just make profits for decades to come, right? And they don't need a star like him tainted. But the people who helped Elon buy Twitter are very, very Chinese. Ironically, given that this app, TikTok, is going away because it's owned by the Chinese government. Well, I mean, there's a lot of Chinese mafia money, etc., and criminals that helped Elon buy Twitter, like Diddy or Sequoia, 8VC. Okay, just look up where all those people get their money, okay? We got ties to Russian oligarchs, and Elon's very connected to China. He's like got a special deal where he can manufacture Teslas there, and it doesn't have to be a joint partnership with the CCP and the company. As I said, Elon did not want to buy Twitter. They literally had to sue him to make him go through with the deal. It's because he's owned. He's a figurehead, just like Biden, just like the stars of a Hollywood movie. They're just the title. But the credits, well, the credits, that's the money network, and we don't necessarily know who they are all the time. This is going to be my lasting legacy on TikTok. I just want you to know, Elon Musk is very influenced by Chinese money. And two, he is actually a main character in Depp versus Heard. He set her up. He introduced her to the ACLU when she said she would donate her divorce settlement. He was right there when the DV incident happened. I think he cultivated her as an asset and then burned her badly, okay? And a lot of people are just trying to do the right thing. He's beholden to his own money people. He introduced her to the ACLU. They approached her to write the op-ed. ACLU wrote the op-ed, it cleared their legal and her legal team, and that ruined her life. So, geopolitical realities are front page news, right?